Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Hi, dear friends. We are back today with our book Living Spring, and it is by Emmanuel through Chico Xavier. Today we're going to discuss chapter 77, Our Father. Our Father. And it is Jesus in Matthew 6, verses 9. The grandeur of the Lord's Prayer will never be properly understood by those of us who received its divine lessons. Its every word has the brightness of sublime light. By the way that it begins, the Divine Master sets its foundation on God, teaching that the Supreme Giver of life should be for all of us the beginning and the end of our endeavor. It is necessary to start and to continue in God, conforming our impulses to the divine plan, so that our work is not wasted on ruins or useless activity. The universal spirit of the Father will guide our humblest efforts, our thinking, speaking, teaching, and doing. Then, with a simple possessive pronoun, the Master extols the community. After God, humankind is to be fundamental the, the is to be the fundamental theme of our lives. Either we will understand the need, affliction, problems, and struggles of all those around us, or we will be isolated in the self-centeredness. All the triumphs and failures that illuminate or darken the earth are somehow our own. The tears of our hemisphere echo in the other. The suffering of our neighbor is a warning for our own home. If we thoroughly examine the mistake of a brother or sister, we find that it is our mistake too, for we are imperfect components of an imperfect society, generating dangerous causes, and that is why the tragedies or failure of others affect us inside. When we understand such reality, the empire of the self will be transformed into the blessed cell of the sanctifying life. Without love for God and humankind, we are not sufficiently secure in this prayer. Our Father, said Jesus to beginning, Father of the universe, our world, unless we associate ourselves with the purpose of the Father in the small task we were allowed to do, our prayer will often be a simple repetition of I want this or that, a prayer invariably full of desires, but almost always empty of sens- sensibleness and love. Beloved friends, again today, and there is a lot of spiritual scriptures about the prayer of Jesus. And before we discuss what Emmanuel has so kindly shared with us, I want to remind you about the book Our Father by the Spirit Maimai through Chico Xavier. It is a beautiful book that helps especially children, where Maimai, in her kind-heartedness, work in a way with children so that they can understand the meaning of the prayer of Jesus. So it is truly a book that we can use to help our children understand the prayer of Jesus, and especially for ourselves as well. So what has Emmanuel come to tell us today? He says that we do not fully understand yet the meaning of the words of this prayer, Our Father, that was taught to the disciples by Jesus. And he says what Jesus was trying to tell us is that our beginning and our end should all evolve around God and around God's creation. And if we listen to the prayer, if we read the prayer, we will see that yes, there is something for ourselves in there, but it's to withhold us from any evil and selfishness. So if we listen to the prayer and we read this prayer, we should really meditate on the words that Jesus wants us to, to focus on, the way he wants us to communicate with God, which is a very great starting point for us to help ourselves in how to pray, not only for ourselves, but especially for those around us. And the main focus being then God and then our neighbor. He says the universal spirit of the Father will guide our humblest efforts, our thinking, speaking, teaching, and doing. Which means is when we are open to be guided, we will be guided in our thoughts, in our way of teaching, how we speak, and what we do. If we are focused on that, and he says, after God, humankind is to be the fundamental theme of our life, which means that we are here to serve, beloved friends. And we as British know that the only thing for our own evolution is to help others. So the focus are totally not on ourselves, but on others. Either we will understand the need, afflictions, problems, and struggles of those around us, or we will be isolated in self-centeredness. So if you look at yourself today, if we look at ourselves, how much are we doing for those around us? How much are we giving? How much of our thought process are being used to serve others by searching for the good and always asking maybe through a prayer for them to be blessed in their endeavor on earth? And or are we still self-centered where everything we do are only about ourselves? Especially we as spiritists need to think about that. Because we are not only spiritists because we are better than anyone else, because we choose to practice the Spirit's teaching. We are not better than anyone. We know that some high spirits come in form that we sometimes do not see and do not acknowledge, because we still have this thing about how we see people, how much money they have, where they live, what race they are. And it's something that we should, when we see someone, take a review of our thoughts and our emotions to see where we are with this. All the triumph and failures that illuminate or darkens the earth are somehow our own. We know that our thoughts, our actions in this life or previous life, we have been responsible for everything on earth. And we know that we affect not only the Earth's atmosphere, but also all the other universes out around the Earth. That is how important it is for us to know what are we admitted, uh, admitting, because we don't only affect ourselves and our bodies, where illnesses then comes from, and not only our own pure spirit, but also everyone that comes into contact with us, and the circle is like a big explosion if we think about it. And so when we have emotions, we should always work on that. To know that we are responsible. If we see someone in need, see someone not in a good mindset, we should know that we need to, to serve them, because we are co-responsible for that person as well. Jesus never just walked by someone and said, okay, no, he's not going to help. He helped everybody. Everybody, wherever he was, he helped everybody. He never judged. He always gave, he gave an ear. And then we can ask ourselves, are we able to listen, to help without judging, to only be there so that maybe that soul, that person can maybe just need someone to listen, to understand, not in judgment. Because even if we listen and we have a thought of judgment, the other person can feel that, because we are not islands. So, in what kind of manner and what kind of feelings do we still have to work on to be completely and fully present with someone, to truly help and be humble? And the key word is to be humble. Not to think because maybe we are fortunate enough to learn more through Spiritism, to have this great community where we can work together and go through the teachings and learn together, that we are better than others. And that is the thing where we should always remind ourselves to be humble. And we should practice that feeling in ourselves, co-responsible and humble towards everyone that we meet. The tears of one hemisphere echoes into the other. The suffering of our neighbor is a warning for our own home. So we can't say that, okay, this is our neighbor and they are doing that. If we are put on a certain place, if we are planted there, and there is a neighbor next to you that maybe has anger problems, why did God put you in that same situation or same place with that soul? It is not coincidental, because we know that life doesn't work that way. It means that maybe in the previous life that was part of your family, and maybe now you have the opportunity to correct it by, if you can't talk to someone, through prayer. We know the power of our prayers, and a smile, and of just being kind to one another. If we thoroughly examine the mistakes of a brother or the sister, we find that it is our mistake too. Because we in previous lives, if we can recognize it, we know that we know the feeling behind it. And we know as soon as we have a judgment, it is something in ourselves that we are still working on. Because as soon as we truly understand, the word understand, and there is a book that we did that the word understanding was in every chapter a few times, we need to pray for understanding. Because if we truly understand, there will be no judgment, and there will be only love. If we thoroughly examine, for we are imperfect components of an imperfect society, generating dangerous causes, and that is why the tragedies of failure of others affect us inside. So we are co-responsible for each other. We know in the book Thought and Life, Emmanuel talks about that we um just want to get the words here, sorry, forgive me, that we are responsible for our feelings because we are not alone. Every thought and every feeling are accompanied by more than one spirit. And we know that how we then affect each other. So if there is something that is not okay, it means that somehow in this life or in a previous life, we are responsible for whatever is happening around us. This is why we take responsibility and we are not victims of anything, beloved friends. We are not victims, we are responsible for everything. And sometimes, because and that is where depression is a big thing as well, because we do not um, want to accept that we are here to correct what we previously have done in this life or previous life, and then we are not okay with this life. We don't want to. We want our way, our selfish way to work out, and we are not truly humble enough to walk this road, to wake up in the morning and be happy and be thankful for the opportunity to change our feelings, to be happy to be here to renew our thoughts, to renew ourselves, and to be able to serve. When we understand such reality, the empire of the self will be transformed into a blessed cell of a sanctifying life. Without love for God and humankind, we are not sufficiently secure in the prayer. Which means that, yes, there is sometimes when we ask for ourselves, and it's not wrong to pray for yourself as well, but not constantly and only for yourself. Because the more we give, the more we give out. And we know in everything we do in Spiritism, when we do passes, when we do prayers, we create this energy of light and love around us and our families, but we also always extend this to the whole earth, to every soul on the earth, every being on the earth. So, because we know that it's not only for ourselves that we pray, because the light in us will go out to everyone. Our Father, said Jesus, to begin it, Father of the universe, our world. Unless we associate ourselves with the purpose of the Father in the small task we were allowed to do, our prayer will often be simply a repetition. So we should watch out that we don't pray in repetition. It is good to teach the children to learn in that way to pray, because for them it's a start in practicing to pray constantly. But you and I know that prayer must be accompanied by a feeling, by a vision of something where we send this prayer to. And the more we practice, the better we will get at it. So to be in constant prayer, to see this light, maybe a bouquet of flowers being sent to someone in need or in hospital, and sending light and love always when we think of someone or when we know of someone in need, even if we can do anything especially. But if you can do something physical, that is good for us to share and to give out what we have. been allowed to have by God. And he says that we should use this talent that we get from God, that we are allowed to have, so that we can share it with everyone out there. I say, unless we associate ourselves with the purpose of the Father in this small task we were allowed to do, our prayer will often be a simple repetition of I want this or I want that. A prayer invariably full of desires, but almost always empty of sensibleness and love. And love and sensibleness is the feeling of peace, regardless of the material circumstances around us. So, to conclude today's chapter from our Father, I want us to listen to the prayer by Andrea Bocelli. And yeah, I hope it's not hard. I'm so sorry that I can't hear now. So I'm going to play this for us, and let's listen to this as if we can hear Jesus sharing this with us in this beautiful voice. Thank you so much for joining me today, beloved friends. May God bless you. Please don't go away. Listen with me.